V here, and today we're going to be talking about a really sad and tragic murder/suicide, and that is the murder of Addie Hill, or the Hurricane Katrina murder. Now, this murder took place on October 17, 2006 during Hurricane Katrina. On this day at 8:30 p.m., the New Orleans police received a call about a male body being found on a roof of a parking garage. Upon arriving, the police officers discovered the mangled body of a man who looked to have died from impact. Was this a suicide or was this murder? No one knew yet, but after the police officers examined the man's clothing for a wallet or anything to identify him by, they discovered a handwritten note stating, quote, "This is not accidental. I had to take my own life to pay for the one that I took. If you send a patrol to 826 North Rampart, you'll find the dismembered corpse of my girlfriend Addie in the oven, on the stove, and in the fridge, along with full documentation on the both of us and a full signed confession from myself. Zack Bowen," unquote. Police then rushed to the address the man had written down and discovered that it was a small apartment building situated above a voodoo spiritual temple. Once they managed to get inside the apartment, they discovered a grisly scene. The walls of the small apartment had been spray painted with haunting messages stating, quote, "I'm a failure," unquote. It was also written on the walls to contact Zack's ex-wife and tell her that he loved her. There was a message above the stove that directed the police officers to the inside of the stove, where they found the remains of a burnt human head inside a pot. Inside another pot were 2 arms and 2 legs, also completely burnt. The body parts appeared to have been seasoned as well. Next to the stove was a bunch of cut up carrots and potatoes. Inside the refrigerator, inside a large plastic bag, was a torso. Aside from how horrifying all of these discoveries were, the police did not realize that the real horror had been written down inside Addie Hall's journal. The couple's friends were eventually notified of the suicide/murder and were completely shocked. They stated that the couple fought and argued a lot, but did not seem like the kind of people to have their lives ended in such a horrible way. Zack and Addie had fallen in love during Hurricane Katrina, when Addie let Zack stay with her while they rode out the hurricane together. The two seemed perfectly fine without electricity or water, and they traded drinks for food and did not seem to struggle much during the difficult weeks after the hurricane. Addie was described to have had PTSD and was bipolar, stemming from being abused as a young child. And because of this, she was a heavy drinker and was constantly finding herself in abusive relationships with men. Zack also had issues as he had served in the military in Iraq and had lost a girlfriend while he was there, who was killed along with her whole family by a bomb. Zack later returned to the States with severe post-traumatic stress and depression. He had earned a NATO medal and the Presidential Unit Citation for his services. Plus, he received his commanding officer's recommendation that he receive an honorable discharge, but instead he unfortunately received a general discharge, which meant that he qualified for VA benefits, but did not qualify for a GI Bill educational benefits, which left him very upset. At some point during their time after Hurricane Katrina, the two started to drink very heavily, and even started to do cocaine. At that point, their relationship had started to deteriorate, and they started to argue and fight more. Then on October 4th, the day before the murder, Addie went to their landlord to have Zack taken off their lease. She had discovered that he had cheated on her, and so she wanted him out. Unfortunately, the landlord would not remove Zack from the lease and instead told Addie to go home and try to work it out with her boyfriend. This was the last time that Addie was seen alive. Zack had written an 8-page confession on Addie's murder, and in it he described in graphic detail what had happened, in which he wrote, quote, "I killed her at 1 a.m. I very calmly strangled her. It was quick," unquote. The next morning he woke up and went to work. When he returned, he decided to move Addie's body into the bathtub, where he then proceeded to dismember it using a hacksaw and a knife. It took 4 days for Zack to decide what to do with Addie's remains, and during that time, he went about his life as normal, going to work and talking with friends. He wrote in his confession letter that the last few days of his life were full of good food, good drugs, and good strippers. After 4 days, Zack decided to cook Addie's remains in order to make them easier to dispose of. Despite what it looked like, there were no human remains found inside Zack's digestive tract. In Zack's confession letter, he wrote about his greatest regret being, quote, "I scared myself not only by the action of calmly strangling the woman I've loved for 1.5 years, by my entire lack of remorse. I've known forever how horrible of a person I am. Ask anyone," unquote. The police later checked the security cameras at the Omni Royal Orleans, which caught Zack approaching the terrace and looking over the edge several times before finally downing a drink and then throwing himself over to his death. The story does not end with Zack dying, because unfortunately the apartment that Addie Hall and Zack Bowen lived in is now rented out as a haunted attraction to tourists. This act is not only disrespectful for Addie, who lost her life there, but it is a disgusting display of how someone is exploiting the horrific death of another. Well guys, that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching it. I know that this was a really dark and sad story, but as always, I think that it is good to talk about these type of things because it brings them out into the open and then we can learn from it. As always, I really appreciate you watching my videos and supporting me, and I'll have another new and interesting story for you guys next week. Thanks again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!